Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Sensible Truth. And we're doing this on the Medlock post, and this is episode 14. Now, we are here to lift, inspire, encourage, and empower you. That's right, empower. Because there's so much to know and to do in this day and time. Now, I'm your host, Richard G. Medlock, and I think I'll be here through the whole program. Who knows? I might get taken away, abducted by, if you see a light beam, a beam of light come down, the aliens are taking me away. So outer space aliens, not the illegals. They'd probably like to take me away too. Folks, yeah, it's been almost 2 weeks since I was out here. A lot of things happened in between, not only with my responsibilities in the education field, but also in the news. And I was going to do this program 2 weeks ago, almost 2 weeks ago. However, the day I was going to do it, I got sick. I had a stomach virus. You know how that can set you back. And then the day after that, it was, I've been racing ever since. So, is there a cause to celebrate here? There is a cause to celebrate, because what has happened, and that's what we're going to talk about today, is facts, documents, truth has come out. Not only the Obama administration and what they were doing, what the Biden administration was doing, but also the Clinton administration, even under President Clinton, and even as Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, and even as a senator. Folks, it is coming out. Now, the mainstream media, the legacy media, whatever the propagandist media, they don't want to talk about this because they were part of the cover-up. Now, it's coming out. There's no going on a talk show and denying this, folks, that they're trying to do that, and going on CNN and MSNBC and saying, "Oh no, that they're just rewriting history." Da 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 da. That's the best they got. And most of this we knew. I mean, I knew Obama was a fraud when he was running for president in 2008. When he started talking about fundamentally transforming America, I knew, number one, I knew he was a Muslim. That was no doubt. And on top of that, he was a Marxist Muslim. The same as this Mandani in New York. He's a Marxist Muslim. So we're sitting here looking at all this, the travesty that has been brought upon this country, and it's coming to light. It's out there now. And those that will try to refute it are just going to make fools out of themselves. We knew about these things. We knew what they were doing. But they controlled the judiciary, they controlled the legislature, and they controlled the executive branch. This is why they're screaming and yelling that their people are getting prosecuted now. Oh, this is political. No, it's not political payback. It's rule of law being fulfilled because criminal acts were committed and the law was broken, whether civilly or criminally. And people are now having to start to pay for it. These protesters out there, these anti-ICE protesters, they're being arrested. Now, in the past, that didn't happen, did it? Judges dropped the charges. When we look at the George Floyd thing and all that writing that went on, Antifa and all that, all the charges were dropped except for like two people nationwide. They just, oh no, dismissed, case dismissed, and let them all walk. That's not happening today, folks. They're being arrested and they're being prosecuted. The rule of law. Now, that's the introduction to what I want to talk about. Because the title of our program today is Bearing False Witness is Lying. Now, let me pull up this first quote by Immanuel Kant. But a lie is a lie, and in itself intrinsically evil. Not just bad or not good, evil, Kant says, whether it be told with good or bad intents. Now, I've quoted this before, so I want to use this here today to springboard this. And then there's James Baldwin. People who shut their eyes to reality simply invite their own destruction. Now, we're seeing this happen today because people that have been indoctrinated, that will not use their own minds to think and reason and research and question things, are bringing about their own destruction. It might be just the fact they can't get a job because of who they are and what their ideology is and what their degree from college. And we're finding out now, most of those degrees, those woke degrees, are worthless. Nobody will hire them. So a couple of quotes there to think about as we go through this. Now, here's the biggest quote. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Exodus 20, verse 16. This is number 9 of the 10 Commandments. Now, let's look at the widely understood moral imperatives here. At its heart, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. And who's thy neighbor? Everybody. Serves as a more than a religious injunction. It is a foundational principle for any society aspiring toward virtue, liberty, and justice. In a constitutional republic, the United States of America, where the rule of law and the preservation of individual rights form the bedrock of governance, honesty is not merely a personal virtue, but a public necessity. Do you understand that? It's not just personal virtue, but it's a public necessity. Truthfulness in testimony, in daily dealings, and in the marketplace of ideas is essential to the maintenance of trust, both between citizens and within and between institutions. I don't know about you, but when somebody lies to me, I lose trust in them. Now, we'll get into some of this a little bit later. Are there different types of lies? According to Kant, no. A lie is a lie, and it's evil. So when we're looking at this and this trust factor, we need to look at a lot of things. So when citizens bear false witness, be it in a court, public disclosure, in their private lives, on the media is good at misinformation and disinformation. Both are lies. They erode the mutual confidence required for a free society to function. Now think about that. The more lies, the more propaganda, the more indoctrination they put out there, they erode the free society. People do not function then on truth. They function on lies that have been told to them. Now, laws can punish perjury or defamation, but the spirit of the law relies a shared community to honesty. Without such a commitment, the very mechanism of justice and representative government are undermined as falsehoods erode the credibility of the individual and the legitimacy of the state. Now, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking of politicians and journalists, propagandists. Okay, a journalist will go after the truth. A propagandist doesn't care about the truth. And we've seen too much of that in the media. And one of the communist goals from the 40s was to get control of the media. And they've done that. Now, am I calling them all communist? No, but they're following a communist agenda. So without this type of commitment, the very mechanisms of justice and representative government are undermined. Moreover, in a virtuous society, truth-telling extends beyond legal obligations. It is a sign of respect for the dignity and rights of others. How many times have you heard, you owe me the truth? You owe the public the truth because you haven't told it so far. To refrain from bearing false witness is to affirm each individual's right to a fair judgment and to participate in public life without fear of slander or misrepresentation. In this way, the commandment stands as a safeguard for liberty. Safeguard for liberty, freedom. Freedom to think, freedom to speak. Ensuring that discourse, law, and community are grounded in reality rather than distortion. Does that make sense? There are parts of our society that are not grounded in reality. They are grounded in distortion. They are grounded in lies. And this was planned. This is no accident. This is planned. Remember a few shows ago, I talked about the goal of Marxism? And it was to erode, to take away your moral, spiritual, and your conscience. To take it away and your rights. And by getting people to believe lies and propaganda and lies and propaganda and lies and propaganda takes away their moral fiber and turns them away from their spirituality. Understand that goal. And the Obamas and the Clintons and the Bidens and the Schumers and others, Pelosi and others, were all part of this. Now we knew it then, we know it now. We just didn't realize how deep into the government it went. If you saw Dan Bongino, his report the other day, he said it scared him how deep this corruption went in the government state. It scared him. And he says, we cannot operate a republic this way going forward. Now, luckily, thankfully, the last report I saw was 20 people involved with this, with the Obamas and Comey and Brennan and what was the other guy's name? Can't remember right now. All of them, 20 have come out and says, and they're blowing the whistle. This is what happens. They don't want to go to jail. They go in. I want immunity because I wasn't part of the big picture, but I was following orders. All right. A constitutional republic. It is the moral glue that holds together the fabric of a just and free society where citizens can reason together, hold one another accountable, hold them accountable, and trust in the premise of justice. What I just said was being taken away by the Clintons, Obamas, and the Bidens and their administrations. It was a coup to destroy America. It was a coup through lies to fundamentally transform America to a Marxist Muslim state. This is now front and center. Documents, I don't know how high they are, but it's there. And now it is also confirmed that when they raided Mar-a-Lago for all those documents, they were looking for the proof that Donald Trump had about this. That's what they were looking for. And they didn't find it. Now, the ninth commandment is neglected. It's being seldom discussed at any length. There are so many different ways to breach. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. We can spread falsehood knowingly, maliciously, rather than inadvertently. Perhaps that is the worst form of breaking the commandment. We can also spread falsehood by simply passing it along in the form of idle gossip without malicious intent. Memes, post on X and TikTok and all these other places. It's somewhat mitigating. Either way, the innocent victim usually experiences a double blow. First, damage to his self-image and self-confidence. Second, the diminished regard of others. Additionally, the victim probably comes to have diminished regard, even anger, toward those who sow traffic and untruth. Now, the Constitution was made for a moral and virtuous society. The founding fathers worked hard to get to that point, to have the people in a position virtuously and morally to be self-governing. The Marxists, communists, Muslims do not want you to be self-governing. They want you to bow to them. And they're getting there by lies. Now, the morality of lies. Let's take a look here. Plato claimed in the Republic that rulers of a just society must promulgate noble lies to promote social harmony among the masses. But he also condemned the sophist's cavalier attitude toward truth. He apparently thought that the moral balance of lying depends upon the context in which the lie is told. Well, folks, there is no noble lie. There is no noble lie. Now, we have St. Augustine and Thomas Aquinas. Now, they their first systemic discussion of lying argued that lying is always impermissible, although he granted as sometimes allowable that one may avoid telling the truth. And St. Augustine thought that, and Thomas Aquinas adopted that later on in the Summa Theologiae that he wrote. Then you have Hugo Grotius, 1583 to 1645, argued that the notion of moral wrongness is built into the notion of lying. He felt that a harmless falsehood is by definition not a lie. So saying that lying is immoral is tautological. Can you think of a harmless lie? A harmless falsehood that doesn't harm something? But think about that. What lie is not harmful? I have trouble thinking of one. Now you might sit there and say, hey, you try not to hurt somebody's feelings. Well, if the truth hurts their feelings, let it hurt their feelings. Now you can do it softly to minimize impact, but truth is truth. And some people do not want to accept it. Now, Immanuel Kant proposed that there are no conceivable circumstances in which lying is morally acceptable. He argued that morality is rooted in our capacity to make free and rational choices, and that lying is, in effect, an assault on morality because it aims to undermine this capacity. Kant also affirmed that the moral law demands that we treat others as ends in themselves, whereas lying involves treating others merely as means. I'm going to lie to you to get what I want, or you're going to lie to me to get what you want. So the Kantian perspective contrasts sharply with that of consequentialists, who hold that the moral value of an act lies entirely in the degree to which it maximizes some non-moral good. Yeah, that's okay, well, it's just a little white lie. Well, as opposed to what, a little black lie or a little green lie? Folks, a lie is a lie is a lie is a lie. Now, according to John Stuart Mill, an act is morally obligatory only if it creates the greatest happiness for the greatest number of people. So let's lie to people to make them happy. Okay? He says, sometimes we have a moral obligation to behave dishonestly. This is called rationalization and justification. Oh, I can rationalize and justify anything I want to do. But is it right? Does it follow truth? If it doesn't follow truth, then it's a lie. It's interesting. So we start breaking this down. So let's look at the psychology of lying. So what have I got here? Jean Piaget, 1896 to 1980. Oop, that should have been a dash in there. Early in the 20th century, psychologists did not carry the work forward until the century's closing decades. Now, psychologists have mainly been concerned with the developmental aspects of lying. The developmental aspects of lying? And they're also involved with the frequency with which people lie. How big of a habit is it? Is it a small habit, medium habit, or big habit? Well, we're finding out that in the Democrat Party and their governance, it's big lies. Everything they say almost is a lie. I mean, I don't know if Adams, if he told a lie, if he told the truth, he'd probably kill over. I don't know. And they're also looking at motives for lying. Well, most motives are selfish for lying. It's to help me either stay out of trouble or get what I want or get you in trouble. Look at all the people that went on Capitol Hill under oath and lied about Donald Trump and about Gorsuch and Barrett and others going into office to get confirmed. Excuse me, Kavanaugh. So we're just sitting here watching these lives and nothing has happened to them. The lady that came forth, oh, he raped me way back when. She finally came out and, hey, I never, this was a couple of years later. I never met him. I was paid to do this. She should be in jail. She's out there making money with her books and stuff. She should be in jail. Lying under oath to Congress is a felony. But the administration at the time wasn't going to prosecute. So the capacity to lie is an important development acquisition. So when we look at these psychologists, nowhere when you look at what they're doing has moral implications in there. There's no moral implications in there. But we want to know methods of detecting when a person is lying. They have walked away from the moral aspect of it, which brings about a free society and keeps it in check. So we have to look at this, folks. So Immanuel Kant said that lying was amorally wrong. He argued that all people are born with an intrinsic worth that he called human dignity. In our previous part 2 things on Mencius, part 1 and 2, throughout that, his whole premise were people are intrinsically good, they're ethical, and they're moral, but they get corrupted with society. But if we operate within those bounds, this is what Kant is talking about. He is talking about this. This dignity derives from the fact that humans are uniquely rational, capable of freely making their own decisions, setting their own goals, and guiding their conduct by reason. To be human, Kant states, is to have the rational power of free choice, to be ethical, and to respect that power in oneself and others. It's called agency that God gave us and the power of reason that he instilled in us when we were born. This reason to decide on my own what is right and what is wrong. Now, let's look at a couple other things he teaches up. Kant teaches lies are morally wrong. First, Lying corrupts the most important quality of being human. Your ability to make free, rational choices is deprived of you the moment you tell a lie. Do you understand that? You're giving your own freedom away. Each lie you tell contradicts the part of you that gives you moral worth. Let's pick any of the people in the Obama administration that were involved with attacking Trump. Pick anyone you want and look at all the lies they told us and the media and sit there and go, how much moral worth do they have in them? I'm not asking you to judge. If you look at it from what Kant is saying here, every time you tell a lie, it takes away your moral worth. Second, lies deprive others of their freedom to choose rationally. When your lie leads people to decide other than they other than they would have had, they known the truth. You have harmed their human dignity and autonomy. You took their freedom away. Now let's put this in a perspective that maybe you can understand. How many people in the United States of America, I'm not going to go out of the country, but in the United States of America, literally hate Donald Trump only because of all the lies that were told about him. And they have developed hate, this Trump derangement syndrome. It has become an illness for a lot of people. Why? Because a group of people in the media lied to them, lied and lied and lied. They're still lying about what's going on in the Trump administration. I mean, I looked at headlines this morning, and MSN is the worst. 99% of what they report about Trump and his administration is negative. It's a lie. They make it look like he's losing, he's destroying America, he's destroying you and everything else. They won't tell you about all these trade deals he's cutting, and they did it with EU, the European Union this weekend. Major, major deal. They're going to pay 15% in tariffs. That goes into the United States coffers. They're bringing in money to help lower the debt and lower the cost of every other things else, and to pay for these new taxes. They're not going to tell you that. All these other trade deals, all these good things that are happening, the oil and gas industry, the coal industry, all these things are flying. They're not going to tell you all the good things. They want you to think he's destroying America and he's destroying a democracy. We don't have a democracy here. We have a constitutional republic. The Marxist Muslims want a democracy so that the elite few will control everything. And that's what this coup was all about. Now, I want to go over some reasons not to lie. But let me go back to the second one here. When you start making decisions on lies without doing your research, all you do is hurt yourself. Now, if I was someone that had listened to these lies for years and years, I would say, wait a minute. This has got to change. I'm going to go listen to the real people. I'm going to go find the truth. All right. So reasons to avoid lying. It's immoral. It's immoral. It's that simple. It's a commandment not to lie. bear false witness. It's stressful because you got to remember that lie. You got to keep telling it. You got to keep coming up with other lies to support that lie. It's stressful. Eventually, it's going to catch up with you. Like this is catching up with the Obamas. It stunts your personal growth. It affects you. It affects your moral growth, your spirituality, and can erode it to a point that you don't have it anymore. You might forget the lie. What did um, Mark Twain say? He says, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember it. So that's why have you ever been in a real um, I've had to testify in court several times, and you get interviewed, interrogated prior to. They keep asking the same question over and over. You have to listen to their questions. They ask it a different way every time. They're trying to trick you. But if you're telling the truth, they can't trick you. 5, it's disrespectful and selfish. It disrespects not only yourself, but those you're lying to, and it's for your own selfish reasons. So you have to cope with the lie alone. People are finding that out. Hey, you want to go tell a lie? You're on your own. I'm not backing you up. It's cowardly. Put that in perspective. It is cowardly. It prevents people from knowing the real you. Or it does let us know the real you. One or the other. It's embarrassing to get caught. And number 10, it can cost you everything. Now, let me give you this thought from Neil A. Maxwell. The 9th commandment is neglected, being seldom discussed at any length. There are so many different ways to breach, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. We can spread falsehood knowingly and maliciously rather than inadvertently. Perhaps that is the worst form of breaking this commandment. We can also spread falsehood by simply passing it on in the form of idle gossip without malicious intent, which is somewhat mitigating. Either way, the innocent victim usually experiences a double blow. First, damage to his self-image, self-confidence. Second, the diminished regard for others. Additionally, the victim probably comes to have diminished regard, even anger, toward those who sow traffic in untruth. Or, as we're seeing, anger in the one that the lies are being told about. Now, he goes on here, if we are not committed to certain truths, ambiguity will replace absolutes. Tentativeness will replace truth. Regulations measured by the pound instead of by principles will replace liberty. A tenured bureaucracy will replace democracy. And hesitancy will replace heroism. Once society loses its capacity to declare that some things are wrong per se, then it finds itself forever building temporary defenses, revising rationales, drawing new lines, but forever falling back and losing its nerve. A society which permits anything will eventually lose everything. So Ayn Rand, let's finish with this. Devotion to the truth is the hallmark of morality. There is no greater, nobler, more heroic form of devotion than the act of a man who assumes the responsibility of thinking. Thinking will get you to overcome the lies. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's our message today, on top of the news of the lies that were carried on for multiple years to destroy the United States of America and the attacks on one man. Now, I have a solution here. That all of these people, the people, file lawsuits against every one of these people involved. I don't care how far down the line of the deep state. Go after them. Sue them. They spent $42 million on the Mueller investigation, which came up with zero, nada on Donald Trump. But it did come up with things on Hillary Clinton and others, but they just didn't report it. $42 million. Make them pay for it out of their own pocket. Go after these judges, these rogue judges that are violating the Supreme Court's decision. You can't do what you're doing. You have no power to put out all these rules to stop everything that the administration is trying to do. I mean, they're all getting overturned. They're just trying to bog it down and bog it down. Well, the Chief Justice of the United States needs to call them all up and say, stop it, or we're going to take you off the bench. He has the power to do that. Stop it. These judges should be sued. The ones that said, okay, you can't deport all these few thousand people, you can't deport them. Well, sue them for the cost to house them and feed them and medical and anything else we had to spend on. Make that judge pay the cost. That'll stop it. That's my thought. But anyway, a lot of things going on here. I'm trying to put things into perspective for you to help you understand lying is bad. And those that do it on purpose for their own gain are bad. And if you tell these little white lies, think about it. Think about it. All right, that's our program for today. The Sensible Truth on the Medlock Post. You guys have a great day. We'll see you soon, maybe even tomorrow. A lot of things going on. So have a great day. Gave you a lot to think about. Use your brain. Think. Ask questions. And we will see you later. May God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.